People expect linear progression with training, but it's not how it works, especially not with flexibility training, due to the different way that the nervous system is adapting and the way that a good flexibility program is constructed. You can expect to go forwards and backwards before seeing big breakthroughs. We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
What's up, everyone? In case we haven't met, my name's Rad Burmeister. I am one of the co-founders of Unity Gym and the UMS Unified Movement System, along with my brother Yanni Burmeister, who I'm joined with today, and Richard, who is behind the mixing box. We're also joined by Phil, our resident physiotherapist and all-round good-looking volleyball player here. Look, guys, if you haven't tuned into us before, we're the gym that turns driven people into athletes. We've got a really revolutionary program here where we make people strong, flexible, and fit. If you want to know how we do it, grab one of the free blueprints. We've got the strength blueprint, the flexibility blueprint, and the nutrition blueprint. They've all got life-changing lessons that if you apply them to your training, you are going to see some serious improvements. And if you haven't done so already, come and join our private Facebook group. It's called the UMS Movement Mastermind, and it's where we record these podcasts live so that we can answer your questions in real time. And for those of you that are watching live, please say hello. Let us know where you're watching from so we can give you a shout out. I can see we've got Vinnie Brown on the feed, and we've got Lee Clements. How you doing, guys? And how are you doing, Yanni and Phil?
Doing good. It's good that we have Vinnie Brown on the show this morning, because he is pretty much the reason why we're doing this series. And that's a good plug for the UMS Movement Mastermind private Facebook group, because he asked a question last week: how do you deload for stretching, or does a deload period apply? People that do our programs know that we are big on program periodization, and that includes the sort of a ramp loading methodology where we peak on the 5th week of our mesocycle, and then we have a deload week where we reduce the total volume of the workout. And it was a great question. Great question, because when you train flexibility properly, we're going to go into that a lot deeper today. Proper flexibility training. It is load on the body. I mean, any stretching, and Phil was really the first person to say this on the podcast many moons ago, that stretching is a load on the body. It's a load on the muscles. It's a load on the nervous system, and it should be treated as such, similar to strength training. Why don't you just preface by giving us a little bit more info on that, and
preface it for us.
I'll face it right out of here. Before I do, I'll just say that I'm an enthusiastic volleyball player, but not a particularly good one. But
look,
I'll take it.
Guys, on that note, literally think of that amazing scene in Top Gun without the body lube and a little bit more body hair.
And with the Speedos.
Hey, budgie smugglers.
Budgie
I've got
smugglers.
brand identity. So I think the most important thing to understand there is that 100%, like, the body will adapt to what you spend your time doing, and stretching is a serious, when you're doing it, you feel uncomfortable. Often it's like this kind of satisfying pain, but it's a sense that the body is like, hey, this is we're pushing limits here. Like, this is, it's a stress on the muscle, and it kind of goes back to that show that we talked about on Wednesday, where basically people have in their mind that stretching is some magical therapeutic cure-all thing, but no, it's a load that we've got to get right, just like optimal strength training for rehab, just like optimal sort of cardiovascular overload for fitness training. The stretching load is the load that we're applying to get mobility. And flexibility.
And it's interesting, because this is probably one of the things. There's a couple of things that we get trolled for the most. Hands down, the best one is the loaded pike stretch. But
we got a good one yesterday, didn't we?
We had a cracker yesterday. What was his name? Karate-20.
Karate-21 was trying to say how absolutely disgusting this stretch was and how bad it was for the back.
But I don't want you to go down that rabbit hole. But I don't want to relive it. But the thing this probably the second thing we get trolled for the most is when we say statements like, we get the best results, and in our experience we get the best results from doing middle splits training only once per week. And then people run with that and say, oh my God, Unity Gym says you should only stretch once a week and they get amazing results from that. And what a crock of shit, you know, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I swore. Sorry, not sorry. But you know, I don't want you to misunderstand what we're saying here. Like when we say you should manage your load with stretching, we are not saying, and when you should only do middle splits once per week, we're not saying you should only stretch once per week. No. You know, why don't you tell us your? This is a good idea. Tell us your stretching split. Like at the moment, what we're doing right now in the gym or what you're doing, just to give people an understanding of how much we stretch every week.
Yeah, so I'm doing the flexibility masterclass, which is getting released today. That's what I do. That's why we're doing it. And what I do is there's a lot of consideration that goes into what stretches I do on what day, because it has to work synergistically with the strength training to not detract from your ability to recover between sets of strength training so that you can still produce maximal force. And if that sounded like a head, you know, swirl to you, it is. It's taken me years and years and years of trial and error to figure out how to put this stuff together in a way that gets really good results, like what we do in the UMS. So when I do bent arm strength on Monday and Thursday, all of my strength training involves gripping, pushing and pulling with my arms. So my flexibility can't interfere with that. So I do front splits, pancake and pike flexibility on Monday and Thursday. And that's it. That's when I do those two things. And that also gives me enough time to recover from those two. Then when I do my lower body strength training, so on Tuesday I'm doing squats and on Friday I'm doing deadlifts, I do my upper body flexibility. So for my shoulders, so I'm doing external rotation, internal rotation, shoulder flexion, shoulder extension. And that's also when I work on the back bridge on those days. Then on Wednesday, when I do my straight arm scapular strength training, that's when I do my middle splits. And then that's it. That's all I do in a week. But they're full on workouts. It's not like, you know, there's sometimes 6 different exercises that I'll do for flexibility. Some of it is stretching, some of it is strength training, some of it looks like strength training, some of it you have weights and you do sets and reps of it, but it's end range strength training.
And this is, I think, the message that I want to give today is that a true flexibility training program is a bloody workout. Like, it's not something that you just add in here and there, or you know, and I reckon this is probably the main reason why so many people walk around saying, oh, I just can't get flexible. I've tried and I can't get flexible.
But that was our first big breakthrough. When we wrote the flexibility blueprint, which is now, you know, the thing that we give away for free for people to get their first exposure to what we do, and give them a taste of the lessons that we teach. That was the first big breakthrough that we had. The very first big breakthrough was when we said, all right, we need to stop treating flexibility as something that we just do at the end of what we're doing if we feel like it.
Or at the start.
Or at the start, like just as a warm-up. And we have to treat it as a workout. So this is part of my workout, not just a little bit at the start or the end.
You won't become flexible on accident, like by accident. It's
and it just makes so much sense when you put it like that for the first time. It's like saying, I want to get really fit, but I'll just skip.
I'm going to do it playing table tennis.
Yeah, or I'm just gonna get a skipping rope and skip for 2 minutes at the start of my workout, and hopefully I'll get fit over time from doing that. You know.
Yeah, and it takes a real buy-in and intention. You've got really we've done a lot about kind of goal setting at the beginning of the year, especially, but you've got to make it give yourself a real driving passion to do this, because it does take a solid amount of time, and it does. And as Yanni said it, it's not this linear thing where you just kind of click go on the thing and then you'll just be off to the moon and doing your rad style Van Damme middle splits under weight stretches. It takes a whole lot of time and intention, and you need that sort of and clear path, and that's something that I've with my goals around playing a lot of beach volleyball, surfing quite a lot, and then trying to get strength training in as well as triathlon sports. It's challenging for me because it's I know that to get really great results in stretching, I need to take some priorities away from other areas and put it into stretching. So it's just so clear to understand you've got to really align it with
So
what you want.
Let me just jump in real quick. I want to say that this is a sidetrack, but it's something that we've spoken about before a lot that I believe in really strongly. What Phil just said there highlights why I always say when you create your goal, but then when you train, you have to detach from the goal and focus on the process. Because if you don't, with everything that Phil just said highlighted it, if all you're focused on is the goal of what you want and all you look at is what you have, you'll just stop. You just get really...
I saw a comment on our YouTube channel. I can't remember the avatar or the person's, the individual's name or the name they got their tag on YouTube, but they said, I've been trying to get the middle splits for about 12 months. If I don't get it by the end of this year, I'm giving up because it's just not worth the effort.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's such a good example of like having the wrong focus.
Yeah.
You know, like being so fixated on whether you can or can't do this thing
that
you forfeit all of that work that you've done. When if you were just focusing on how amazing the work is that you're doing, the goal will come. You know, it's like anything. It's like anything in life, and that is literally. And then they signed off by saying, I guess failure, because I'm okay with that because failure is a part of life, right? And I'm like, far out. So is learning from your mistakes, and giving up is like...
Richie, have you still got that picture of Lockie doing the front splits on your computer? Look, you got to have a look. We've got, look at Lockie. He just got his front splits for the first time at age 44 after training with us for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Imagine he gave up after a year of, this is crap. I can't get any better at this, It's the journey.
It's I guess it's easier for our tribe here because they're in this culture that really just supports turning up and doing the work, and when you're out doing it on your own, it's a little bit harder. And that's why it's so important. Like one of the things that that Rad didn't sort of point out before with the training split that he's now producing this week that we're launching, I think today, we're going to get it up.
Yeah,
it's going to go up today.
Yeah.
Is the Flexibility Masterclass, which is really version 2 of the Mobility Masterclass. But we've renamed our programs because of what we've learned over the last sort of 5 years. We now know a lot more about what flexibility and mobility is, and we sort of started kicking them off with what would be identifiable for people. Now we want to name them what they really are.
Yeah.
And so it might be a bit confusing for some of our tribe, but bear with us as we go through this transition. But this program does everything that a good strength program does. And one of the main things it does is it deploys the concept of super compensation. It allows the body to recover adequately between bouts of stimulus so that you continually make progress. It treats flexibility training as a proper workout. And it's not something that you just sort of flout about with, But the other cool thing is that it is designed completely in and of itself to do what we do, which we probably people find the most revolutionary about the UMS is how we combine it with strength training. Because if you approach the two separately, you have to neglect one of them. It's just not possible to get, unless you are blessed with the ability to train twice a day,
Look,
like a couple of hours in the morning,
we
couple of hours in the
shouldn't say
evening.
it's not possible because there are people out there that do it, but they sacrifice a lot in other areas.
But
of their life
most
to
of
do
them are fitness professionals.
Yeah, most of them are fitness
They don't have
professionals,
other jobs.
or they don't.
Name
They're
me
not
one
career-
person that does it that's not a fitness professional. I'm genuinely interested.
I've done workshops, Yanni, with people that like for example, Ido Portal's training. He does two sessions a day, and we did that for a while. And there are people that are in his tribe and his culture that are very, very good that aren't fitness professionals. But I don't know what their circumstances are, and I know that when we tried it, even being fitness professionals, it just detracts from too many other things that we were trying to achieve in our life. And you can't, I love this saying, you can't run towards something without running away from something else. And if you're going to put 2 training sessions in one day and you're going to do that 6 days a week,
then you're neglecting something else.
You're going to be neglecting some other things in your life. And we're not talking 2 30 or 45-minute training sessions. We're talking 2 90 to 120-minute training sessions here.
Yeah.
Like, it is a massive commitment. And we tried it, and we did it for 6 months. and the business was suffering too badly,
and
the
relationships,
stress and relationships, and the stress that came with it. And we've found
finances.
a way. We've found a way
you sacrifice
to
your financial health for your flexibility. I don't know if that's a good idea.
And we've found a way to get similar results with doing it in one session.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's, I think, I think that's something that you know people need to understand. If you truly want to get flexible, or if you truly want to perform at your best, because we believe that true strength cannot be achieved in the absence of mobility. If your joints are fighting to get into deep positions, then you're either wearing them out or damaging them, or not really achieving your full potential, I think. But on the flip side, true flexibility cannot be achieved in the absence of strength. And what we mean by that is that, you know, if you're wanting to be functional, if you're wanting to be able to use your flexibility in the real world, if you want to run, jump, climb, sprint, change directions and minimize the risk of injury.
Yeah, even more than that, just like picking up things or like
all of that,
general life stuff.
Yeah, if you're developing flexibility in a way that doesn't promote strength, then and end range strength, then you're creating vulnerability. You know, so you want to have a program. Whatever you do, you want to have a program that takes that, but what that does all that.
Yeah, because just remember that like when muscles do get overloaded and they tighten up, that's a protective mechanism. Like they're doing that because they know that it's when you go to full end range of something without control that's when you're likely to get damage to the joint structures or your spinal cord or blood vessels. Like the spasm and tightness is protective. So if you want to kind of override that protective mechanism, then you're going to have to get your body to trust that you can control that range that you're working in. So yeah, it's really key.
And that what you guys, either one of you just said that, said this then, that is a really important thing to understand, which is another one of our breakthroughs that's included in the flexibility blueprint, which is that flexibility training has to be programmed. It can't just be that you say to yourself, I'm going to stretch 5 or 6 days a week and I'm just going to stretch. Like it has to be programmed. There has to be some serious structure put in place with it, where you understand what the end goal is, and then it's the same with strength training. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
You can't expect to achieve greatness in the gym, and I'm not even talking about like like Olympic level gymnast greatness. I'm talking about just achieving a good result. Getting up to let's talk about for the average person, if you could do your own body weight in a squat, just under your own body weight in a bench press. Like these are modest goals, but pretty big milestones for the average person, right? Those things aren't likely going to happen from turning up with no plan. Right? You got to have some sort of structure, some sort of a plan, some sort of a program split. Like at the most basic level, you say, okay, well today I'm going to do chest and back.
Yep.
And tomorrow, like it's not just turn up and I'm just going to stretch today.
Yeah. So just very quickly before we talk about what a deload period looks like for you in your training, let's just quickly talk about why the progress of flexibility training is not always as linear as strength training, because it's something that does frustrate a lot of people and it can be really discouraging. And in my experience, for me, I had some pretty severe injuries that I'd fallen off a horse as a kid. I'd done a bunch of pretty bad things to my body, which created a lot of what you could possibly say restriction or roadblocks that made it a little bit more hard for me to, for my body to trust hamstring flexibility and things like that.
And also just an ingrained sense of vulnerability, which is often what's, one of the most important things to overcome when you...
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was going to finish on, but you've dived there, so it's good. No, it's very good. Because of the pivotal role that the central nervous system and the brain has. Flexibility is mostly occurring in the brain. Like we've talked about this earlier in the week. The muscles have the ability to lengthen and contract, but that's controlled, it's dictated, it's governed by the brain. And this is what people don't understand. They go to, we did a whole show on this earlier, a whole podcast, talking about the concept that there's this notion that the muscles are Play-Doh and you can just pull them out and stretch them. The more we stretch, the more the Play-Doh lengthens. Unfortunately, that's not what it's like. It's just not the way it works. It's the brain adapting to the stimulus and being more and more comfortable with you going there. If it senses vulnerability, or if you overstretch and you cause pain is a stimulus that is reinforcing that that's a bad thing to the brain, then it's going to stifle the process.
And it's not only pain as well. Like there's a little test with a physio assessment where you are basically checking for sort of shoulder instability and like just basically instability in the shoulder, and it's called Apprehension and Relocation Test, where you're basically just getting someone to go into like an end range sort of abduction, external rotation, and extension, and even just kind of getting there, you're basically looking for if people can do that, or if they really jam up and their muscles kind of all contract at once to sort of hold it there. And then that's the apprehension test. So you're seeing if they're apprehensive to go into that position, and then you place a hand on the front of their shoulder, just gentle sort of pressure, which is kind of to mimic the job of the rotator cuff muscles to keep that ball sort of centered in the middle of the socket. And then the test is if they're positive if they suddenly have all this extra range. So those people who that has a big difference. Like, you can get to that position, they lock up and they couldn't possibly go any further. But then as soon as you put like a gentle but firm hand on their shoulder, suddenly they're able to access all this range. So it's like, you're not doing this amazing sort of, they've got the range there, but their brain is just being like sensing that real apprehension, that instability there. So it's not only pain signals that stop it, it's also just an instability. Your brain picks up on that and goes like, nope, we're not doing there. We're not going there.
Yeah. So now, before we dive into what Rad's deload periods look like with stretching and how he uses both a reduced volume and intensity stretch and mobility, let's just go through and quickly give some love to everyone on the live stream. I find it funny because Vinny Brown said here, that's hilarious. Of all the stretches, my pike stretch has improved the most notably since I've started working with us, in reference to the fact that we get so much hate about our loaded pike stretching. This is exactly what we said yesterday, Vinny, to this gentleman, as kindly and politely as humanly possible. All the theory in the world, there's always limitations to the research. There's limitations to everything, and you can find arguments to support both quite easily. At the end of the day, you've also got to take into account, and we like to say this all the time, science is really good and research is really good. That becomes one tool that we use to educate ourselves. The next tool that we use is our personal experience, the experience we have training ourselves. And then finally, the third data point that we use at Unity Gym is the data point of our clients. Thousands of people around the world have also, if they've replicated the results that we're producing, then we use all three of those data points to collectively create our programming. And unfortunately, when you get a keyboard warrior who just smashes you based on one data point and theory that they've read in one study or book, it's always really, really embarrassing, because you're sort of like, well, show me the results that you've produced. For them, yeah. We always say, okay, that's good. You've read a study, one study. Now show me the results that you've produced applying that study. And
it's for someone like that, it's usually like, they've had a past experience, or they've heard that going into these positions under load is really dangerous, but as they haven't seen all the progressive steps it gets the person up to that position. That's why you get people jumping on and being like, oh, how could you possibly do that to your body? But
in this instant, the best arguments always come. They end with quoting Stuart McGill. And I love what Coach Christopher Summers says about Stuart McGill, how he's a proponent of neutral spine. And Christopher Summers is on the London Reel in an interview saying, what can you do with a neutral spine?
He said there's no athletic activity that you can do with a neutral spine.
Like, no matter what you do, moving around in the real world, you don't hold a neutral spine. Whether you're throwing a ball, whether you're doing gymnastics, whether you're swimming,
gymnastics, spine.
And so why are we so freaked out about taking the spine out of the neutral position when we're training? It just doesn't make any sense,
Anyway, let's not go too far.
Get derailed.
Yeah.
So we've got to jump on the online coaching call after this.
That's right. Okay, so last five, Lee Clements, immediate gratification is on the rise. Patience, enjoy the process. Dave Clark is saying, it's these podcasts which help keep me motivated. and consistently training. That's fantastic,
So good to
Dave.
hear.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Joshua Charles Dawes is saying, morning, lads. Dirty Bottle. Make sure, guys, there's a few people from the online coaching group here. Make sure you are geared up in about 6 minutes. We're going to be jumping over there.
We are going to have to wrap this show up in a couple of minutes, so let's wrap this up. Yeah.
Okay,
And just
Deload.
for those, the online coaching call, if people aren't familiar with that, it's really fun. We've been doing it for the last few weeks and basically helping people on the online coaching group as if, we were their personal
It's
trainers,
real
hanging out
coaching.
with them.
Yeah, so for those of you that are subscribed to the UMS online coaching program, make sure you join in. We're going to be going.
Get over
So we
there.
do video analysis of people's posts. So if you are on the online coaching group, if you are part of the online coaching,
Get your
make sure to
questions
get
ready.
your videos ready so we can get stuff in.
Rad, what does your deload week look like? You have 5 minutes.
Basically, it is. I basically just go into my deload week where I predominantly deload strength training. So I'm thinking of reducing the volume down to 40% of what I lift, but increasing intensity where possible. And I just approach my stretching like it's just something that I do. I see what feels right for me with zero goal of making progress with it. I just basically want to try and, because if you've done real stretching, you always feel like that first set, you don't even have 50% of the range that you have on that last set, right? Like we all, you warm up as the workout goes on. I basically just approach my stretching where I try to just warm up through the workout to the point where I get to a decent range.
And then you don't do more intense reps from that point.
No.
Okay, so we're still
just gentle.
Key thing there is that he is still stretching during the deload week. He's not doing anything at all.
Yeah.
He's warming up very progressively. And then how do you use mobility during the deload period? Because I know
mobility,
that you use
I do a lot of
mobility.
mobility. So I really focus on mobility. So I use the 18-minute mobility routine.
First and foremost, just for those of the listeners who don't listen to us all the time, the difference between mobility and flexibility?
Flexibility is workouts that are done to increase your mobility. They're done at a high level intensity. They require recovery between sets. They require recovery between workouts before you do it again, just like strength training. Mobility is an umbrella term for anything that takes your joint through full range of motion. So my mobility, there's so many different ways you can do mobility, but the mobility that I like to do is in what we have as the 18-minute mobility routine, because it should be something that can be done in a relatively short amount of time. It shouldn't take too long. It should be something that if you've only got 20 minutes and you don't want to train today, but you can get it done and you can mobilize the whole body, every single joint, not just the hips, not just the shoulders. And my mobility routine finishes, so everything warms me up, it warms all my joints up, and then it finishes with the main gymnastics movements, which is what we work on in the Flexibility Masterclass, which is the pike, the pancake, the front splits, the middle splits, and the back bridge. So that I basically just I warm my body up and get ready, and then I just take it to its full range of motion in those positions that I'm trying to get better in. And it makes sure that not only do you not go backwards with your flexibility training, because we've just talked about that you're only doing certain flexibility movements once a week, so you're not going backwards, but what it also does is it solidifies the gains that you've made in your flexibility training. It solidifies them in the central nervous system. It reminds the body that this is the new norm. You don't need to go back to where we were before. Like we worked to get this new range yesterday. We don't need to go back to that. We can stay here and then we can move forward from here. And
mobility training is gentle, you would say?
Very gentle.
Yep. And you should not feel a strain doing mobility training.
No, you can feel discomfort, but not strain. You should not feel like you need to recover from mobility. You should finish a mobility training session and feel like you could go straight into strength training. Yep. Like you feel good, you feel ready, you feel charged. Flexibility is totally different. Like you can do a set of flexibility training and feel like you need to rest for a couple of minutes before you go at it again,
Awesome.
Yeah. I think that's all we got time for.
Yeah, that's it, guys. We're going to bring this one in for a landing. Remember, if you're interested, if you have been doing the Mobility Masterclass in the past, for all of you UMS online coaching guys, you're going to get this in your dashboard anyway. So jump over and check out the new Flexibility Masterclass. It's an awesome program. Give us some feedback. This is what Rad's doing right now. For everybody else who's not in the UMS online coaching tribe, then yeah, this is a great opportunity to level up your flexibility.
Sure
Probably the
is.
best one all year.
Yeah,
And
it really
if
is.
you've done the mobility masterclass in the past, this is version 2. It's gonna basically sort of, I guess,
Well, it's everything that
is it
you know,
superseding that program?
Yeah, it is. If you've got it, and you've got to remember the mobility masterclass got us to a certain point.
Yep.
Version
Here's
2
your
got
evolution.
us further.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is the evolution. So that's the best way to describe
It's
it.
going live in a sec. It'll be linked in my email coming up, and we're going to be launching it at a massive discount for the next 72 hours over the weekend. So grab that program. Give us some feedback. Give us some love. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
ciao.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. If you liked it, consider subscribing to our channel and make sure you click the notification bell so you know when our weekly videos are uploaded. Now, the best thing for you to do if you want to stay connected with us and get free online coaching is to join our private Facebook group. It's called the UMS Movement Mastermind, and we go live daily where we answer our members' questions. It's very interactive because you can post questions while we're live and we interact with you on the show. You can also upload videos or pictures of yourself with any movements, any stretches, strength training movements, calisthenics, weightlifting, anything that you're struggling with, and we'll critique you, give you feedback, let you know how you can get better. It's a really valuable resource. It allows a lot of communication with us and also our senior tribe members. You'll get answers very, very quickly, and it's absolutely free. So jump on Facebook, search for UMS Movement Mastermind, and join now. Until next time, have a great day.